Every single one of us faces it. That split-second, gut-wrenching moment when an accusation lands. Your worth, your character, your intentions are questioned, called into the harsh light. And instinctively, almost universally, we respond exactly as we've been conditioned. We defend. The immediate impulse, I didn't mean it. You've misunderstood. I'm not like that. It feels noble, doesn't it? Righteous even. But Machiavelli saw this moment not as a quest for truth, but as a fatal strategic error. The instant you defend, you subtly declare your weakness, admitting you need to be defended. In the brutal arena of power, perception isn't just important, it's everything. A flinch isn't seen as vulnerability, it's seen as an opening. They don't see a victim, they smell blood. This is the unforgiving law Machiavelli grasped long before anyone else. The one who rushes to defend themselves diminishes their stature. The one who refuses compels the world to defend them instead. Understand this fundamental truth. Your defense rarely, if ever, convinces the accuser. What it does do is surrender your power. To justify is to play on their terms, to legitimize their framing, to unconsciously declare, you hold the authority to interrogate me. Once granted, they seize the narrative. You might be demonstrably right, yet you still appear guilty. Because only the insecure scramble for explanation. The truly powerful? They embrace the searing silence. They allow the accusation to hang, untouched, in the air. They understand the masterstroke, reflect the accusation back. Force them to question their motives, their emotional state. Make them appear obsessed, unhinged, unstable. The one who breaks silence first inevitably relinquishes control of the frame. And Machiavelli's chilling insight holds true. Whoever controls the frame controls the entire outcome. The underlying motive for most defense is a yearning to be understood, a naive belief that enough explanation, enough clarification, enough repetition will lead to vindication. This impulse stems from emotional fragility, not strategic acumen. You don't actually seek clarity. You seek control. Clarity is a pursuit for therapy. Control is the currency of power, and true power isn't derived from being understood. It's forged in being feared, respected, and utterly untouchable. Therefore, when confronted with labels, arrogant, cold, selfish, manipulative, and your immediate reflex is, no, you don't understand, you've already conceded defeat. You're reacting. You're demonstrating you care. You volleyed the ball into their court, and in doing so, you relinquish your most potent Machiavellian asset, your mystery. Consider the truly powerful individuals you've encountered. Not the loudest, not the universally liked, but those who wielded silence as an exquisite weapon. Those whose unwavering gaze alone compelled you to second-guess yourself. Those who, under direct attack, never once flinched. Machiavelli's counsel rings true. He who explains, submits. He who remains silent compels others to fill the void. And in that void, they often overestimate him. This is the core strategy. When you refuse to react, they become profoundly uncomfortable. Their own words begin to echo hollowly. They search for external validation, finding none. Their perceived power shrivels while yours expands. You've accomplished the one thing no emotionally driven person can endure. You've forced them into a lonely dialogue with themselves. This is how you irrevocably flip the power dynamic. You allow their accusation to wither and die, choked by the echo of its own inherent weakness. Let's delve deeper into the practical application. Imagine entering a room. A subtle jab, or perhaps a blatant attack, is launched. A slight against your success, your demeanor, your past. All eyes pivot to you, anticipating your response. Your move? Absolute silence. No defense, no counterattack, not even a knowing smirk. Just calm, resolute stillness. In that precise moment, you become untouchable. Every person in that room is now compelled to confront the questions. Why no reaction? Does he possess knowledge we lack? Is he truly above this petty fray? Did that assault just inadvertently fortify him? You have instantly, fundamentally rewired the entire social frame. Because observers aren't fixated on the accusation. They are mesmerized by your non-response. And silence, when projected with unwavering presence, reverberates with more authority than any labored justification ever could. Machiavelli understood this profoundly. He wasn't merely a student of politics. He was a master of human psychology, and his greatest realization? Power isn't found in what you articulate, but in what people believe you are capable of saying, yet consciously choose to withhold. Now, for the coldest, most surgical maneuver, sometimes you don't merely ignore the accusation, you invert it. Someone labels you manipulative? Offer a faint, distant smile. Gaze slightly past them and simply state if that's truly your perception. Not defensive, not apologetic, just an ice-cold, neutral detachment. What unfolds? They falter. They expected a skirmish, a spectacle of you squirming. Instead, they find themselves clutching their own weapon, now inert. The guilt begins to gnaw at them. They start to doubt. Did I overstep? Did I embarrass myself? Do I appear insecure? And the answer, resoundingly, is yes. You've effortlessly absorbed the energy they hurled at you and compelled them to bear its full weight, without lifting a single finger. There arrives a critical juncture where the silence becomes unbearable, not for you, but for the one desperately anticipating your reaction. This is the precise moment the tables turn. They believed themselves the formidable accuser. Now they stand exposed as the one craving validation, begging for attention. And you have transcended mere innocence. You have become utterly untouchable. Machiavelli grasped a profound truth that eludes most. Words are not intended to clarify truth, but to obscure it. When an attack, subtle or overt, is launched, its architect desires one outcome: for you to wrestle in their manufactured fog. They want to drown you in emotional justifications, because with every explanation, your certainty perceptibly erodes. Instead, allow them to fill the suffocating silence. What inevitably happens? They overextend. They repeat themselves. They begin to appear desperate, overtly emotional, unstable. You remain silent, yet now they are the ones under scrutiny, because the audience isn't merely processing the words. They are observing who remains unflappable and who is clearly rattled. This, fundamentally, is social power. And it doesn't originate from being, right? It originates from being untouchable. Consider a high-stakes business meeting. A colleague subtly undermines you. I'm not convinced that strategy is fully mature, or he's known for these ambitious ideas. They're baiting you, seeking a reaction, an emotional bite. The average person leans forward, explaining, proving, clarifying, their nervousness palpable to everyone in the room. The Machiavellian operator, however, he leans back, he waits. Perhaps a slow, almost imperceptible smirk plays on his lips, and if he speaks, It's not a defense, but a precise redirect. Perhaps you'd like to outline your own strategy then? The attacker is now forced into the spotlight, compelled to perform. The dynamic instantly reverses. They are under evaluation, under pressure. Because silence, emanating from undeniable confidence, functions as an accusation without a single word, it shrinks others, without you uttering a sound. In the intimate arena of romantic or personal relationships, this dynamic becomes even more perilous. Your partner laments, "You don't care about me anymore." The typical reaction is panic, a torrent of explanations, reassurances, defenses. In this act, you validate their emotional framework. The Machiavellian path diverges sharply. You neither dismiss nor argue. You allow the full weight of the accusation to hang suspended. You watch them confront the echo of their own dramatic pronouncement. Then, with unwavering calm, you respond, "That's not my perception." Short, grounded, devoid of explanation, absent of justification. Instantly, they are plunged into uncertainty. They question their own tone, their reactivity, because in that critical moment, you asserted control over the most vital element, the emotional tempo. And he who controls the tempo undeniably controls the frame. There exists an even deeper, profoundly colder tactic. Beyond merely remaining calm, you disappear. An insult is hurled your way, no reply, no response, no acknowledgement, but critically, no blocking either. Let your absence itself become a chilling mirror. Force them to confront the silence of being utterly ignored. This shatters individuals in two devastating ways. First, they realize you didn't even deem them worthy of a reaction. Second, they begin constructing internal narratives, which, more often than not, utterly dismantles their composure. Why? Because the average person thrives on emotional validation, even negative validation, in conflict. Deny them this, and they wither, they spiral. They intensify their efforts, more posts, more gossip, more desperate attempts to bait a reply. And with each escalating attempt, they appear weaker, more obsessed, more unhinged. All while you remain perfectly, unnervingly still. This is your victory. Not because you proved anything, but because they self-destructed in their frantic pursuit of your attention. Now, we ascend to the elite level. Rather than defending, you pivot and make their accusation a glaring reflection of their weakness. Accused of arrogance? It's peculiar how confidence seems to unsettle some. Labeled manipulative? Only those incapable of being influenced resort to such claims. Called fake? A common lament from those who no longer get their way. You don't merely deny. You expertly frame their criticism as an exposé of their own insecurity. And suddenly, they are the ones scrambling to defend themselves. This isn't just a reversal, it's a strategic power judo throw. You've leveraged their emotional force and transmuted it into their own public collapse. Machiavelli would term this the turn of the blade. Do not parry a sword with a shield. Instead, allow the aggressor to impale themselves upon their own weapon. The world incessantly instructs us to defend our reputation, to clarify, to clear our name. But Machiavelli foresaw the insidious trap. He understood that the very act of chasing innocence implies a confession of guilt. The true strategist, therefore, refuses to engage in such a rigged game. Instead, he projects an image too composed to be rattled, too elevated to be concerned, too unequivocally certain of his standing to offer explanations. And subtly, those who strive to dismantle him begin to appear unstable, reactive, consumed by jealousy, inherently weak. Because the more fervently you defend, the more you appear to need to, but the more resolutely you ignore, the more formidable they perceive you to be. And it is from that powerful assumption that true power is born. The prevailing misconception is that power is synonymous with proving oneself. Proving you're right, proving you're not the caricature they paint, proving you transcend their limited perception. Machiavelli would offer a knowing smirk. For the moment you endeavor to prove anything, you have, by that very act, conceded the validity of their judgment. And when you bestow upon someone that validation, you willingly hand them your leash. Picture yourself in a group setting, a casual dinner, a crucial meeting. A public jab is launched. You always present as if you know everything. Typical of him. Humility clearly isn't your forte. What is the common response? A visible tensing. A forced laugh. Or, worst of all, a desperate explanation to smooth things over. They believe they're salvaging face. In reality, they're merely confirming the hit landed. All eyes now pivot to the defense, which, ironically, validates the initial accusation. The Machiavellian counter? A deliberate pause. 2 seconds of absolute silence. A slow, almost imperceptible scan of the room, not with aggression, but with a serene, quiet amusement. Then, only if strategically necessary, a calm, precise, and utterly dismissive response. You seem agitated today. Or an intriguing perspective. Or simply nothing at all. Just an extended, unblinking gaze. The outcome is astonishingly predictable. The attacker fidgets. They seek validation. They attempt to clarify their joke. They feel the palpable heat of the room shift entirely onto them. Because your non-reaction has communicated a truth far louder than any words, you are not the one under judgment. They are. In the volatile digital arena, the stakes escalate with terrifying speed. Comments, posts, call-outs, DMs, a constant barrage designed to provoke your reaction. Machiavelli would brand this truth into your very core. In the court of public opinion, silence is often misconstrued as guilt, unless that silence undeniably commands fear. So, the definitive tactic: when assailed online, do not defend, do not explain. Instead, strategically distort. You don't engage with the specific claim. You expertly redirect the hostile energy back towards the collective. For instance, someone labels you toxic or manipulative. Instead of a lengthy, emotional defense or clarification, you post, "It's curious how those who cannot exert control are so quick to label others as dangerous. What has transpired?" You haven't defended. You've masterfully reframed the accusation, transforming it into a formidable badge of power. Now, they appear embittered. You remain utterly unfazed. And the audience? They begin to scrutinize who truly holds the reins of control. This is not damage control. This is absolute narrative dominance. Let us become even more surgical. 3 potent tools exist, superior to any defense. Silence, the ultimate default, cold, powerful, leaving your accuser utterly exposed. Deflection, rerouting the narrative, reframing the jab without ever acknowledging its premise. Precision cuts, short, razor-sharp truths designed to end the game decisively. Accusation, you're full of yourself. Response, confidence often unnerves the insecure. Accusation, you're fake. Response, my authenticity isn't a debt I owe you. Accusation: you think you're superior to everyone. Response: no, I simply don't conform to every perspective. These are not defenses. These are unwavering status assertions. They don't plead. I am not guilty, they declare. Unequivocally, you cannot touch me. This is the Machiavellian core. Never beg to be perceived as good. Instead, dare them to see you as bad, and let that perception fuel your unapologetic assent. When you steadfastly refuse to defend yourself, a curious, unsettling transformation occurs within your adversaries. They unravel. They anticipated a pitched battle, yet find themselves fruitlessly swinging its smoke. They escalate. They push harder. They indulge in histrionics. They involuntarily expose the raw nerves of their own insecurity. And the more they flail, the more your stature elevates in the eyes of observers. Why? Because you have engineered their public collapse. This is the Machiavellian endgame. You do not merely destroy your enemies. You leverage their consuming obsession with you to engineer their self-destruction. Most perceive being misunderstood as a vulnerability. Yet being predictable is an infinitely greater danger. The misunderstood individual possesses an inherent mystery. The predictable one is effortlessly manipulated. Those who perpetually strive to clarify are seen as desperate. Those who remain calmly, powerfully misunderstood, they are feared. Machiavelli's timeless axiom applies. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But even beyond that, it is superior to be enigmatic than predictable. For the confused adversary is a cautious one. He observes. He hesitates before acting rashly. And in that hesitation, you seize definitive control of the entire field. Let us dismantle the final pervasive illusion. You do not require a good reputation to triumph. You require a strong one. The individual with a good reputation is burdened by expectations, clean, soft, perpetually agreeable. The individual with a strong reputation, they may not always be liked, they may not always be trusted, but critically, no one dares to move against them casually. This is the profound consequence of never defending yourself. Your reputation transforms, not into a reflection of what people believe about you, but into a potent forecast of what they fear you might do next. This is how you fundamentally flip the power dynamic. You cease battling for approval. Instead, you cultivate an aura so formidable that it compels caution, because even your silence is perceived as a deliberate decision. And every non-action, every move you don't make, becomes a powerful maneuver in their minds. The ultimate evolution transcends mere silence. It is aura, a presence so utterly composed, so self-assured, so undeniably elevated above the petty cacophony, that accusations dissipate into nothingness before they even manage to land. And this isn't born of emotionlessness. It is forged from being profoundly, strategically unbothered. For once you have disciplined yourself, not to defend, not to explain, not to crave validation, you breach a critical threshold, a threshold where your very existence becomes your most potent defense. And in that space, power becomes effortless. Reflect on those rare individuals who absolutely refuse to explain themselves. They abstain from protracted rants. They never correct the record. They don't engage with critics. Yet paradoxically, they command greater respect. Why? Because silence, in the face of accusation, forges myth. It compels interpretation. And the human mind, left without a convenient explanation, instinctively fills that void with strength. People project onto you. He must be formidable. He must possess knowledge we lack. He must be so utterly secure in his own being that a challenge doesn't even register. And that potent assumption, that is precisely what compels people to follow. Machiavelli's sole concern was not virtue, but absolute control. And the individual who never defends remains perpetually in control of perception, even amidst a torrent of falsehoods. Herein lies the profound paradox. The more exhaustively you explain yourself, the more isolated you appear. For no one feels compelled to intervene when you are already vehemently arguing on your own behalf. But if you remain utterly calm, perfectly silent, completely unfazed, people begin to feel an instinctive urge to defend you. That was unprovoked, they'll murmur. He didn't warrant that. Why are you targeting him? He hasn't even responded, yet you persist. Suddenly, they become your unsolicited shield. And what could possibly be superior to defending yourself? Allowing others to do it for you, without a single request. This is Machiavellian-level leverage, permitting the crowd to champion your cause, while you remain serene, untouched, above the fray. You are no longer merely respected. You are unequivocally elevated. This mastery is not achieved overnight. It is a fortress, meticulously constructed stone by stone, through unwavering restraint, through choosing profound stillness over impulsive reaction, through never ever explaining more than is absolutely essential. Begin now. Ignore provocation. Never correct insults deliberately designed to provoke. Allow them to hang, to echo. Your non-reaction broadcasts a clear message. The insult didn't even register on your radar. Calm confusion. Respond to indirect jabs with serene confusion, not offense. Is that truly your perception? Uttered with total tranquility, it effortlessly deflates the emotional charge of their attack. Closing phrases. Employ short, definitive phrases instead of defenses. Understood. As you wish. Consider it noted. Time will reveal. Each phrase is a definitive closure, shutting down further debate and ending the scene on your terms. Master your presence. Scrutinize your facial expressions, your posture, your gaze. The true Machiavellian never twitches, flinches, or tenses. Stillness is their impenetrable armor. The greater your composure amidst others unraveling, the more profoundly your power silently amplifies. When people cannot provoke you, they will inevitably fear you. You become not erratic, but unreadable, a chilling mirror, reflecting their own disarray back at them. Machiavelli's chilling decree. The most dangerous man is not the one who strikes first. It is the one who never needs to. You will attain a state where attacks cease, not because you battled them into submission, but because your adversaries intuitively grasp the futility of engaging you. Your very presence declares, I do not play defense. I permit others to self-destruct in their futile attempts to breach my composure. There exists a critical distinction between strength and immunity. Strength, even formidable strength, may still flinch, still react, still betray emotion, even as it fights back. Immunity. It does not even register the impact of the blow. That is the apex of the Machiavellian ideal. You do not merely win the argument. You obliterate the argument before it can even begin, by eradicating the very need to respond. For when you categorically refuse to defend yourself, you cease to be perceived as someone requiring a trial. You transcend their level. You have ascended beyond the transient court of public approval. And the singular judgment that holds any weight? Your own. From this pivotal juncture, you no longer reside in defense. You inhabit definition. You define your image. You define your tone. You define your silence. And this truth resonates. They feel the unyielding certainty in your gaze, the profound calm in your bearing, the undeniable danger in your quietude. You are no longer resisting, you are commanding. And in that shift, the entire dynamic of the room transforms. The crowd's murmur subsides. Your adversaries grow silent. Your name acquires an undeniable gravitas, not because you fought for it, but because you never once deigned to explain it. Never defending yourself does not imply perpetual muteness. It means speaking only when your words exert a deliberate shift in power. When you articulate, it must register as a strategic move, never a mere response. Because every time you withhold explanation, every time you stand utterly still while the world descends into chaos, you become the one force they can never control. A man who answers to no one. Like this video. If you're ready to stop chasing, subscribe. If you're prepared to become the kind of individual they can't control, can't predict, and can never forget. Because this isn't just self-improvement. This is an internal revolution. And you are becoming unstoppable.